Poster's note. I am cutting this chapter into 2 parts. This chapter has a little over 35,000 words and runs just a little over 3 hours and 52 minutes. End Poster's note. Diaries of a Madman. By What Must I Do? Chapter 174. Part 1. Twilight, we're going to meet Princess Gilda. Right. Now, this may come as a surprise to you, but there actually are some people I have respect for. I'm following you. King Bloodbeak happens to be one of them. I know. What's your point? I'm not going to meet his daughter dressed like a complete slut with no panties. Well, why not? Because I'm on my fucking period. She looked down at my cooch. It took a second because my body needed to convert back from horse mode, but the cramps were finally starting again and the blood was starting to come back. Oh. Right. That's completely fair. And I wouldn't do it even if I wasn't, because Gilda has no respect for slutty behavior. She's very traditional. I wouldn't want to offend our hosts. That never stops you from offending Celestia. Yet, but I actually like Bloodbeak. She sighed and shook her head. Wear whatever you want, Nav. I still need to get ready, myself. With her permission, not that I needed it, I turned to the bed, where I had the few outfits she brought for me laid out. Of course you need her permission, Aqua said. You just love being her little toy. It's actually starting to get a little bit grating. If I don't want to do something, I shouldn't have to give her a reason. Is that something you've considered communicating to her? TCH, no. Why the fuck would I do that? It's easier to just let the anger over a bunch of little things build up over time until it completely sabotages our relationship. Then she'll realize I really was a piece of shit the entire time and she'll hate me as much as I do. Day. Aqua giggled and my mouth opened. Twilight, can we talk for a moment? She asked through my mouth. About what? She distractedly asked. Don't you fucking do it, you nasty skank. Well, there's just something that's been bothering me. Whenever I say I don't like something or don't want to do something, you always badger me about it and make me give you a reason. Then if you don't think it's good enough, you try to push me to do it anyway. She stopped what she was doing and stared at me for a few long seconds. Finally, she said, Nav, something my friends in Ponyville taught me is that sometimes, you need to step outside of your comfort zone. I've tried to get you to do that your entire time here, but you never gave it a chance until just recently. And as much as you may hate to admit it, you seem happier now than you have in a long time. If you really want me to stop pushing you, I will. But as your friend? No, as your special some pony, I think you really need to let yourself try new things. You still have so many of your past prejudices in your mind, even if you try to hide them from us. I'm trying to help you break those walls down, Nav. Since the damage was done, Aqua let my mouth go. I instantly tried to tell her the truth about Aqua, but my mouth seized up. Hush, my dear little lady, Aqua whispered. You didn't really think I'd let you tell her, did you? I know what you plan as soon as you do, silly. She let my mouth go, because she knew I had learned my lesson. I hate you. Twilight, some of those walls exist because I like them there. I understand what you're doing, and I do appreciate the thought. But sometimes, you and the others just go too far. You're free to try to get me to try things, but if I ever tell you no, please respect that. The fact that no one does is starting to wear on me. So I've been seeing, she sighed, looking down. I'm sorry, Nav. Sometimes I just get so caught up in trying to do what I think is best that I forget to ask how others feel. That's okay, Twily. But I'm done with the bullshit pretty parties. With very few exceptions, they have always felt uncomfortable and shitty. I'm also done with surprise parties. The next one of those I get, I'm just leaving. I might think of a few others later. Her eyes met mine again. Thank you for telling me, Nav. I wish you had spoken up sooner. I have. More than once. You and the others brushed me off. I've found that I'm having to explain it point blank and very bluntly to everyone. She rubbed the back of her neck and looked away again. Well, you kinda have a way of talking around things sometimes, Nav. I've told you up front before that I hate parties in general and pretty parties in particular. Her ears drooped. Aqua told me you were lying. She and her sisters really want you to be as feminine and proper as possible. I see, I very coldly replied. And you didn't think to verify that? I trusted her. She was supposed to be my friend and help guide me. I'm gonna let you in on a little secret here, Twily, I said, crossing my arms. Those things all have their own agenda. If any of them tell you anything, consider very strongly why they tell you. And don't ever trust yourself alone with one. They're not that bad. I know you didn't like Aqua, and I understand that the two of you grated a little, but she isn't evil. I know she would never hurt any pony. I mean, she left me as soon as I told her to. I'm sure the wry grin I had on my face was a little confusing to her, but that's okay. Let me tell you a little something about Aqua, I said, my voice probably sounding more than a little angry. My blood was beating in my head, so it was kinda hard to hear myself. That fucking bitch can go get spit roasted by Blaze and Char. Hopefully between the two of them, they'll either teach her where her place is or kill that H2 hoe trying. That bitch is gonna get what's coming to her, and soon. I swear it. Needless to say, Twilight looked shocked at my tirade. At the end of it, I realized I had been shouting. Wow! Is there something you need to talk about? Yes. No, of course not, Aqua said with my mouth. You sure? That sounded, kinda personal. I'm fine, I said, looking away. If you say so, she replied, shaking her head. I'll do my best to stop pressuring you, Nav. Feel free to stop me if I ever go too far. I don't want to make you unhappy. All right. I think she realized I was done with that conversation, so she sighed again and went back to picking her outfit. Feeling better? Aqua sweetly asked. I tried not to think out loud at her, but she picked up on my disgust. Remember when I compared you to a child, Nav? This is why. Silly little temper tantrums, the silent treatment, petty insults. I'm starting to understand why Discord picked you. You're just like him. What, you mean human? Because all of that sounds pretty standard for most of us. You robots are the ones ruled by logic. We're all passion. At your most basic, she stuffily replied. But at your best, you are creatures of logic and kindness, not anger and hate. At our best, we are all of the above. We're normally logical, but we know when to let emotions take over. We're normally kind, but we know when to let our rage show. Whether you like it or not, I'm the only human you have left. You can try to tame me all you want, but that just means you don't understand what it truly is to be human. You will come to regret this, I guarantee it. Your confidence is so cute, Navi. I could flip your brain off like a light switch if I wanted, and I know what you are going to do before you do. You will never escape my loving grasp. I suggest you start learning to like it. The more you resist, the more I will crack down on you. If you keep giving me lip, I'm turning Cod into your personal stylist and she will keep you dressed like a perfect lady at all times. I didn't have time to have another argument with that bitch anyway. While I was getting dressed in the most modest outfit we had packed, Twilight suddenly burst into giggles. H2 ho. Really? I stand by it, I said with a nod. You are so adorable sometimes, Navi, she sighed. Really? I asked. I always thought of myself as fierce. It's hard of me to think of you as fierce ever since that time I had you begging for mommy to teach you your place. Just think about the time I dropped a dude into a volcano with a smile on my face. She tilted her head slightly for a moment. No, still thinking about how you moaned while I turned your flank bright red. Slut. Says the one who begged me to put the plug in before the spanking started. Ugh. Are you ready or not? Of course I am, my adorable little Navi. Are you ready to teleport out? A time's coming where I'm gonna remind you how fierce I really am, Twily. I hope your body is ready. She smirked and used magic to slap my booty. Bring it on. Her horn lit up brighter and we both teleported in front of the Griffin Palace. Yo mouth just wrote a check your booty's gonna have to cash. I hope you understand that. She blushed bright red. There's no way she expected me to actually reply in front of the royal guards, who were now snickering. You gotta remember, Twily, I ain't got no shame left. I'll talk about whatever the fuck I want in front of whoever the fuck I want. Yeah, I get it. Now can we please go? Sure. I walked up closer to the guards. Hey, do you guys know if Princess Gilda is in? She invited me to see her during the festival. She is, Lady Navarone. She told us to keep an eye out for you. Any servant would be happy to show you to her chambers. Cool beans. Cheers, brother. He looked confused by that, but I'm pretty sure he got the gist. Twilight and I entered the palace, though she was shaking her head in disappointment. I thought you were working on your reputation, Nav. Part of that means censoring yourself. Another part of that means speaking properly. Eat a dick, I'm on vacation. Oh. She sounded kinda disappointed, but I was willing to accept that. You're such a wonderful partner, Aqua said. You care so much for how Twilight feels. Thanks, I try. She scoffed, but it was her own fault for getting snippy with me. Generally speaking, there weren't that many servants running around the Griffin Palace. It was never anywhere near as busy as Celestia's court, after all. At the moment, it seemed that even more of them were gone than usual due to the festival. It took us a few minutes to find a servant, but when we did, he took us straight to Gilda's flight of the palace. The difference was immediate. As soon as we stepped off the carpet and onto the smooth stone floor, Twilight looked up at the lights and slowed down. It's like that store. Electricity, the servant said with pride. Princess Gilda has reproduced all manner of marvels from Lady Navarone's people. Engines, generators, radios, the list goes on. She's revolutionized dozens of fields. That sounds amazing, Twilight slowly said. When we get back, we're gonna watch a movie on my laptop, I said. I want you to see what humans have done without any magic at all. I'll take you up on that, she replied with a nod. The laptop is impressive enough as it is. Princess Gilda spoke of a laptop, the servant said. From what she was saying, she'd pay dearly to possess it. It's not for sale, I immediately replied. I'm surprised no one has tried to steal it, Twilight said. If I caught them in the act, they would never try again, I said. And if I caught them after the fact, there'd be hell to pay. Spoken like a true predator, he said with a grin. You're wasted on the ponies, Lady Navarone. Your fierceness would be properly appreciated here. She's too adorable to be fierce, Twilight said. You just haven't seen her all dolled up and looking cute. It's good that you've taken to your new gender so well, he said. I know I would be lost. Most would, I think. That's extremely commendable, Lady Navarone. He finally stopped at a door. Here we are, my lady. This is her workshop. She should be within. Now, I'm afraid I must return to my duties. He bowed and buggered off, leaving me feeling kinda awkward. Twilight didn't feel that way, though. She opened the door with no further hesitation and used magic to rudely shove me inside. Unfortunately, or fortunately, whichever, for us, we got a full view of Catbird Pussy the instant we stepped in. Gilda had her upper body shoved down into a large machine. Her ass was dangling over the edge of the casing and twitching around as she worked. I only got to appreciate the view for a few seconds before Twilight kicked me. "What was that about respecting King Bloodbeak?" she whispered. When she spoke up, Gilda started flailing around before falling into the case completely. My eyes widened and I rushed forward to try to help, but her head popped right back out. She definitely looked surprised to see us. The oil on her cheeks just compounded her look of complete confusion. "Nav. Yeah. Are you all right?" Of course." She finally pulled herself out of the machine, but one of her legs got caught on something and she ended up face planting. I tried to step closer to help her up, but she was back on her feet before I could move. "I just wasn't expecting you." "Right, skip over the face plant." The guards told me the opposite. "And you did invite me to come by." Of course, she probably didn't actually mean that. After all, who would really want me around? She was probably just trying to be polite. God damn it, now I've made things awkward. Much to my surprise, she actually blushed. "Well, I didn't actually expect you to come. I was hoping, but I thought you didn't really like me." "You have your moments," I said with a grin. "If now's a bad time, we can come back later." "Now's fine." I was just She looked back at the machine for a moment before sighing. Her eyes moved back at me and she continued, "I need to take a break anyway." "This place is amazing, Princess," Twilight said from across the room. It appeared that she had been perusing Gilda's experiments. "I've never seen a workshop like this." "That's because there hasn't been one like this in a long time," Gilda replied. "With Nav's help, I've managed to reinvent dozens of technologies that were lost long ago." I looked around the room and nodded at something that looked familiar. "Is that a radio?" "That it is," Gilda said, walking over to it. "The other end is over next to Twilight." She flipped a switch on the side and both of them powered on. She grabbed the mic and held down a button. "Hello." Twilight jumped when the sound came out the receiver on her end. That's just like your walkie-talkies." "Yep," I said with a nod. "Mine are a lot smaller and more portable, but it's the same basic concept." "I've been working on making them smaller," Gilda replied. "This is just an early prototype." "That's incredible," Twilight said. "I never thought we could make something like that with our current technology levels. We just use magic." "Do you remember when I said that magic stifles technology?" I asked. "Having an instant I-win switch built into your forehead means you don't need to really think about how to solve something. You can just complacently use magic to do it." "I admit that I was wrong about a lot of things, Nav, and I apologize. I'm beginning to truly understand what you mean. Hearing you talk about it for some reason makes it seem so abstract. But seeing these things here. This could have been my workshop, if I had just listened to you." "If is such a boring word," Gilda said, waving a talon. "Life is interesting enough not to need it. If you want a workshop like this, get to work. I could use a little competition. Without it, we'll leave you ponies so far behind you'll be begging for our scraps." "You gotta keep an eye out for the changelings, though," I said. "Moonbeam gave me an airship recently that had a lot of magi tech in it. They're combining both with some very interesting results. TCH, those bugs will never match us." I just shrugged. "What's your most popular invention?" Twilight asked. "Believe it or not, a cotton gin," she said. "We don't have much cropland here, so we need to maximize the gains out of what we do have. We also need to be able to process what we grow more quickly and efficiently. Combined with my new sewing machines, we've been able to make a lot more clothing to keep ourselves warmer in the frigid environments. Our coats and feathers only do so much." "Hey!" Gilda sighed and walked over to another experiment, something that looked like a microscope. The truth is, many of my inventions have either gone almost completely ignored or faced immense resistance. Many griffins are extremely traditional. Most don't think it's appropriate for any griffin, let alone a princess, to tinker. They certainly don't like strange new inventions, no matter how much better they make their lives. I believe the ponies would have similar reactions, Twilight quietly said. That's one reason I never let Filthy Rich tell anyone where my inventions came from, I said. Everything you gave him were quality of life upgrades, Twilight said. Like pens. In a few cases, they were games like chess. None of those were really revolutionary. Well, the radio is revolutionary, Gilda said. But none of them seem to care. It's something new, so it must be bad. I told you that you might have to drag them, kicking and screaming, into the future, I said. If it's any consolation, I think you're doing an amazing job. I knew you were smart from our lessons, but the fact that you were able to do so much so quickly is just impressive. You're a genius, Gilda. If you ever get bored of the princess lifestyle, you're welcome to slum it up with me in Canterlot. I can put you in touch with people who will appreciate your talents. She had the barest hint of a grin on her face, but she was also sporting a fairly impressive blush. Thank you, Navarone. It's a tempting offer, but I doubt my father would approve. Besides, I can't abandon my life as a princess. It's my duty to drag them into the future, whether they like it or not. Whether I like it or not. See, that duty bullshit is why I never wanted power, I said. It brings responsibility, which means you have less time to devote to what you want to do. Being a princess means I represent something more than myself, Navarone, Gilda said. I am more than my own wants and desires. I care for my subjects. Sounds shitty. But then, I'm a selfish asshole at heart, so whatever. No you're not, Twilight immediately replied. And I'm telling Doppel you said that. God damn it. If you were selfish, you wouldn't have given me so much knowledge so freely, Gilda said. Yeah, well, I'm also a liar. Gilda and Twilight shared a very knowing look. Whatever. The point is, if you always think about other people and never take even a moment to think about yourself, you might end up just like Celestia. There is merit in your words, Gilda slowly said. I doubt I would live long enough to become as corrupted as she is, but I never want to take the chance. Good. I feel like this is an appropriate time to remind you that there's a festival going on. You want to get out of this grimy place and go check it out. What do you mean, grimy? Twilight asked. This is a surprisingly neat workshop. Twilight, she has oil smeared on her face. Gilda's eyes widened and her blush came back as she rubbed at her cheek. There's a little grime. But I will admit, for a workshop like this, there's not much. Not all of us like working in a pigsty, Nav, Twilight said with a grin. Hey, you told me that workshop was mine to do with as I pleased. Yet all you ever did was complain about it. You were making weapons. You left incredibly dangerous materials just lying around. You know how Pinky and Spike are, Nav. Someone could have been hurt. Gilda snorted. That sounds like it would be a very important lesson. When one is unsure about something, they should not fiddle with it. Thank you. I said. She gets me, Twilight. So you'd rather let your friend get hurt than take simple precautions. Maybe they should take simple precautions. I had a sign on the door for a reason. That sign said Nav's secret candy stash, keep out. I also made some rock candy. Twilight just shook her head in disappointment. I was not aware you made inventions of your own, Navarone, Gilda said. What manner of things did you construct? Like she said, mostly weapons. My favorite was the chlorine gas bomb. It held two different types of chemicals separated by a thin glass layer. It had a trigger that would destroy the glass, releasing the chemicals, causing them to combine and turn into a toxic gas that melts the skin and organs of anyone it hits. That's horrific, Twilight said. But fascinating. Gilda purred, her eyes wide and tail wagging. What were the chemicals? I very distinctly remember that we agreed to no weapons. My second favorite were my flashbangs. When they were triggered, they released a blinding flash that temporarily blinded anyone who didn't look away. They were great for disabling a room full of hostiles. But not actually dangerous? Gilda asked. Well, that depends on who activates it, Twilight said. Nav, or an innocent little filly who was just exploring the library and saw a sign about candy. Look, that only happened one time and I was in there anyway. And how did that go? She asked. I was indecent. Ahoy. And? Well, since this was after Luna did her dream bullshit, it was super awkward. She looked at me with a filthy expression and asked what she'd have to do to get candy from me. So I unloaded all my rock candy on her, shoved her out the door, and then locked it. Twilight sighed and shook her head. You're unbelievable, Nav. Thanks, Twilight. That means a lot. She stuck her tongue out at me. Oh yeah, way to be an adult. You let your servants be strangely informal, Gilda said. Oh boy, here it comes. I'm her mere friend, Twilight coldly said. Oh. That is surprising. Surprising. Twilight gasped. What do you mean, surprising? You seem sensible. I can't imagine why you're with her. Nice save, but hurtful. Twilight's anger almost immediately dissipated and she snorted. I can understand the confusion. I ask myself the same thing all the time. Wow, rude. Because I can do that thing with my fingers. Yeah, the belly rubs are amazing, Twilight sighed. Belly rub? Gilda asked. Yeah, everyone loves them, I said. I even made the other Gilda purr from one. That sounds adorable. Twilight said. Yeah, it was. Anyway, there's a festival on. Do you wanna go enjoy it or what? Well, there is a tradition I have yet to uphold this year. What's that? Twilight asked. Gilda sighed and said, every year, all the unwed royal children are used as prizes in a Talon-to-Talon combat challenge. The winner of the competition gets to have one date with the royal. At the moment, I am the only unwed royal child. That seems like a strange tradition, Twilight said. I thought those of royal blood would be above dating commoners. It dates back to the original festival, Gilda said. Back then, royal blood meant less and noble titles weren't common. Royals were expected to mate with the strong to create strong offspring. Our rulers have always been the strongest of us, for they are expected to carry the nation itself on their backs. So you wanna go on a date with a total stranger? I asked. Absolutely not. Which is why I invited you. I would like you to enter the contest and win. So you wanna go on a date with my mere friend? Twilight slowly asked. I think I would prefer spending time with her to spending time with a muscle-headed imbecile. And you actually think I can win? I asked. I mean, I'm tough, but I'm sure the griffins I'd be facing would be tougher. I heard what you did to Hestra. Who? Twilight asked. He was the guy who sent an assassin after Cadance, I said. Her eyes narrowed slightly. I beat the shit out of him. It was very satisfying. But I was wearing my armor then. Talons, weapons, and armor are all strictly prohibited, Gilda said. It is solely a brawling tournament. Given our hollow bones, I assumed you would stand on equal footing. Would they even let me enter? Of course, Gilda said, waving a talon. It's only a date. There are always a few members of other races who compete. Well, I don't see any harm in it, I said with a shrug. If it'll keep you from being uncomfortable with a creep, count me in. But I'm charging you one belly rub for my services. You want me to give you a belly rub? Gilda asked. No. I'm gonna give you one. Her face went bright red again. That is a strange condition. I'm a strange person. You should go for it, Twilight said. Her belly rubs are the best. Very well, I suppose, Gilda finally said. You shall be my champion and I shall let you rub my tummy should you win. Baller. So when is this thing? Whenever I demand it, Gilda replied. Since I am the only one being given away as a prize this year, I have been given permission to choose when to host it. I will have it set up immediately. Oh wow, I wasn't expecting that. This is gonna be fun, Twilight said with a grin. It's gonna be something, I sighed. I guess it'll be good to warm my blood up a little. And maybe my period can give me some extra rage. You might want to think about cleaning up before you prop yourself up as a prize, Twilight said. If you want, Navi and I would be happy to help you dress up. I ain't gonna dress up my own potential date, I said. I'll get things in motion, then allow Twilight to assist me in cleaning up, she said. Nav may go with the organizers to be ready when the competition begins. We'll meet her there. Sounds good, Twiggles replied. Let's do it. Then I'll go hunt down my dad's guard hen. Guard hen? I asked. She rolled her eyes. The old maid he assigned as my head servant. She's there to make sure I act like a proper princess at all times. Part of her job is to try to find me the perfect husband. I guess she's not too good at it, is she? She tries, Gilda sighed. Oh, how she tries. You should have heard the fit she threw when I didn't participate in that stupid auction on the first day. I just bribed one of my brothers to do it for me. So what's she gonna think of Nav entering the contest? Twilight asked. Who cares? She's not the boss of me, no matter what she might think. Neither of us chose to comment on that. So shall we? I asked. Gilda nodded and started walking to the door. Before she could get there, a very buff-looking older griffin in a maid outfit stepped in the doorway, glaring directly at the princess. What was that I just heard? She coldly asked. Oh, Matilda, Gilda awkwardly said, stopping to rub the back of her neck. I was just going to look for you. Ahoy! Luckily for you, I am always right where you need me. Good timing, too. You almost showed these commoners a dirty royal face. She walked closer and pulled a handkerchief out of her dress and used it to rub at Gilda's face. Given that it was black grease over feathers, it did basically nothing. Tisk. Spend all day fooling over useless machines and this is what you get. A dirty face and a story for the newspapers when one of these two rats you out. Gilda smacked her talon away. Nav would never do that. You would do well to mind your tone around my guests, Matilda. You may have special privileges now, but when my father dies, you're going to be gone so quickly you won't even have time to pack your bags. Humph. That's what you think. But luckily for you, your oldest brother also happens to think it's high time you were wed. I'm sure he'd be happy to keep me on the staff. Gilda turned bright red, probably from anger or humiliation at the treatment. We'll see about that. Ooh, now I'm glad I have something for you to do. Go tell the stupid advertisers of that stupid wrestling competition to start finding stupid griffins to compete. For someone so intelligent, your vocabulary is very unfortunately lacking, Matilda said. You really must work on that, my lovely little princess. I'm sure any potential husbands would prefer their bride to be well-spoken. Ugh, just take Nav and go. Matilda took a step back and curtsied. As you command, princess. She looked at me very dismissively and snorted. Well then, come along. I'll see you later, Twily, I said with a bop on her nose. Have fun, she sweetly replied. Matilda rolled her eyes and finally started walking out. I followed behind, though I honestly didn't really want to be alone with her. Once we were a few halls away from Gilda's room, Matilda said, "You are going to throw the competition. Make me." She stopped and turned to stare me down. "You don't want that." I held both of my arms out to the sides and waved her in. "I want you to try." I gotta say, I was not expecting her to launch herself at me. My reflexes held true and I dodged it and spun to face her. She tried kicking me with the claws on her back feet, but I grabbed her legs and jumped back. Her body hit the ground hard. That gave me a moment to really think, which is when I remembered that their bones are hollow. They're still heavy, but light enough to really fuck them up. I grinned and got a better grip on both of her legs. She was starting to struggle, but I stopped that by beginning to spin. Getting started was difficult, but once I had her going, it was easy to keep it up. When I had enough momentum, I let her go and she slung into a wall with a squawk. She might have wanted to get up, but my foot on her neck kinda put a damper on that. She glared up at me with hate in her eyes. "So are we done here?" I asked. She tried prying my shoe off with her talons, but stopped when my foot pressed down harder. "Sorry, I didn't quite catch that." "You got two options here. Option 1, I stomp right through your neck and kick your head down the halls like a soccer ball. Option 2, you continue leading me to the organizers. So what's it gonna be?" Thankfully, she chose option 2. I was never any good at soccer and would hate to make a fool of myself in front of the guards. We continued our journey in silence. "That was an example of poor conflict resolution skills," Aqua said. "There was no reason for that to devolve into a fight." "I know, she needs to work on her people skills." "Can you believe she actually attacked me? Because you goaded her into it, instead of acting like a normal, rational person and just asking why she wanted you to throw the contest." "I don't care why. It wouldn't change my answer." I knew she would push the point, so I decided to take a shortcut. A shortcut that involved harming a poor old woman. Yet, I'd say it worked out pretty well. And it was a lot faster than the conversation would have been, too. This is exactly why you need my guidance. I was hoping to use this example to illustrate that, but it seems that you are as impervious to logic as ever. Don't expect to get away with something like this so easily next time. Bite me. In response, she made me feel like something was nibbling on my ear. It sucked. Once we got out of the palace and started walking the streets, Matilda finally turned her hateful eyes back to me. "I would, like you to throw the competition." "Too bad." She clucked her beak and sighed. "King Bloodbeak would like you to throw the competition." So. He's your king." "I didn't vote for him." She actually stopped walking so she could face me for that one. "You didn't?" "What? Of course you didn't vote for him. You don't vote for kings. And you're not even a griffin. Then he's not my king, is he?" Her beak snapped shut with a click. Finally, she coldly said, "You are going to lose this competition, one way or another." "Maybe, but I'm not gonna throw it for you." "TCH. What's in it for you, anyway? You already had your chance to date the princess. She asked me to win it. And the king is ordering you to lose it. Sounds to me like you're the one ordering it, but whatever. She didn't ask me as a princess. She asked me as a friend. Friend trumps king any day." "Humph. You're just as bad as the ponies. Friendship this and friendship that, but never anything about duty or sacrifice. I'm looking forward to watching you get broken in half at the competition." "Yeah, it's gonna be fun." "Now would be a good time to ask," Aqua said. "Maybe if you find out why she wants you to throw the contest, you can find some middle ground." "Why? Fuck this bitch. There's no reason I would ever want to find middle ground with her." "Wow. You are, the worst, Nav. You really are just the absolute worst. I'm sure Celestia is so happy I decided to claim you, too." I used to have nothing to do but micromanage her all day, but now I get to spend time with you instead. You're sadistic. Oh, I know you think it's unfair now, but when you start loving me, you'll realize that this was just the beginning of growth. Your growing pains, if you will. Once you learn your place, you'll look back on this time and feel ashamed that you ever doubted or fought me. Man, every time I start to think I could never like you less, you open your mouth and I descend into new levels of hatred I never thought possible. You're so cute when you're emo, she replied, pinching my cheek. Will you please just kill me? And deny you my love? I could never do that. How the hell did Twilight last so long with you in her head? It hasn't even been a week and I'm just about ready to beg you to shut up for 5 fucking minutes. Twilight enjoyed our talks. She also returned my love, until you poisoned her mind against me. You did that by being a bitch muffin. All I did was help her realize it. Well, I like to think I traded up, so to say. I know I'm definitely enjoying your company a lot more than I did hers. When I find a way to kill you, I'm gonna ask Celestia to wipe all my memories of you. Oh, you don't need to worry about that. If you ever find a way to kill me, you'll follow me very quickly. Celestia's decided she's done with you and will immediately dispose of you once I'm out of the way. Ahoy! Sure. Totally. And you're definitely not just telling me that as a way to keep me from trying to find a way out. You may believe whatever you want, Nav. I'm very confident you'll find no way to escape my loving clutches, so I don't see any reason to lie to you. You are mine forever, whether you like it now or not. Soon you'll come to accept it and then you'll come to love it. I decided to stop feeding her delusions. Honestly, they were starting to creep me out. Also, we were approaching what I'm assuming was the wrestling area. I was only assuming that because of the huge Thunderdome set up in the middle of the square, so I might have been wrong. I wasn't, of course. Matilda marched right up to the 2 bored-looking griffins playing cards at the table next to the metal dome. The 2 griffins barely spared us a glance when we stopped. Princess Gilda is finally ready, Matilda said. So get to work. About time, one of them said, tossing his cards on the table. How much time is she giving us this year? Not much, so you'll need to hurry, she replied. Just do like we prepared and we can get a large enough group of competitors. Are we gonna be competing in this thing? I asked, looking at the dome. What do you mean, we? The other guy asked. I'm competing, so I'm included in that we, I said. They both turned their heads toward the maid, who sighed in disgust. The princess insisted upon it. But hero or not, she won't be a problem. Now go. They both spread their wings and shot into the sky. Matilda glanced at me for a moment, huffed, and then walked away without another word. Nice to meet you. I happily called as she left. She didn't reply, unsurprisingly. See where being polite gets you? Perhaps if you had tried it from the start, she wouldn't be plotting ways of handling you right now. I'll be fine. Things always tend to go my way in the end. I sat at the table and started shuffling the cards. If I had a true special talent, it would probably be luck. It's shitty at times, but it always pulls through. Luck is a myth. The fact that you've scraped by so far is just a fluke. Now that you have me by your side, you won't be needing superstitious myths anymore. Whenever you'd feel the need to thank your luck, just thank your loving elemental aqua instead. Conceded much? She didn't bother replying, since I already knew the answer. The wait for someone else to arrive wasn't a long one. Shortly after I got bored of solitaire, 2 royal guards landed next to the table. Ah, Lady Navarone, one said. Yep, that's me, I replied. Princess Gilda asked us to keep an eye on you. Did she say why? Oh, nothing serious, the other one said, waving a talon dismissively. She's just being paranoid again. She has all kinds of flights of fancy, sometimes. She just thinks Matilda might do something strange. I don't know why, though, that hen's been working with the king for ages. Hey! Strange like what? I asked. Gilda mentioned something about her being deranged and delusional. She thought Matilda would try to rig the festival. They both chirped cute little laughs like it was a great joke. Funny you should mention that, actually, I replied, going back to shuffling the cards. On the way over here, Matilda told me, point blank and very sternly, that I was going to throw the competition. Their smiles disappeared very quickly. Be very careful, human, one coldly said. You are accusing a loyal subject of something extremely serious. And when I told her I wouldn't do it, she attacked me. Their expressions turned grim. I put her on the ground and told her that she could either stop or die. She decided to stop attacking me and we continued into the city. That is, extreme. While we were walking here, she asked me to throw the competition. Then she tried using King Bloodbeak's authority to make me throw it. When I told her no both times, she warned me very seriously that I would lose, one way or another. When we got here, she spoke to the two gentlemen here, who seemed to be in on her plan. They all left after she told the other two that she would handle me. That does not paint a very pleasant picture, Navarone. Yeah, I bet. Say, did you guys ever catch all the assassins who were after the princess? Their eyes shot wide open. Because I was thinking. A competition like this would be a pretty good way to get close to her. They both immediately looked at each other. Warn the captain immediately, then find the princess, one ordered. Gilda is safe, I said. She's with Twilight. Warn her, but focus on finding Matilda. Go. The guard he was yelling at immediately flew off back to the palace. The guard himself looked back at me. Give me more details. Aqua, time to be useful. You mind giving him a play-by-play? Certainly, Navi, she said with a giggle. For the first time ever, and trust me when I say that it felt disgusting, I let Aqua take control of my mouth and she started telling him everything. Ugh, I feel like I need a shower. Then let me shower you with my love, Navi, she cooed. You are so creepy. Are you trying for that, or are you just really a complete psycho? Well, not that it's any of your business, but I was imprisoned under Discord's corrupted crystals for a long time. It may be possible that they tweaked with me a little. You know, just a secret between you and me. Oh. Yeah, I can see that. Man, that explains a lot. Well, now that we're going to be together forever, we can share all sorts of secrets with each other. She giggled again. Or at least, I can. I already know all of yours, Navi. I've never been so thankful for small talk. Aqua finally had to stop tormenting me when her retelling was done and I could take over again. The first thing I noticed is that the guard looked extremely disturbed and concerned. You threatened to stomp her head off and kick it down the hall. Like a soccer ball, yet. I'm glad she didn't make me do it. I'm really bad at soccer and didn't want to embarrass myself. See? I can be honest. I'm so proud of you, Navi, Aqua sighed. I have to say that I'm impressed with human ingenuity, the guard finally said. I never would have considered handling it like that, but it was the perfect response. By threatening her, you put her off guard and in a position of vulnerability, where she was forced to reveal her plot. You also showed her that you aren't to be messed with, so she wouldn't try a direct attack. I know, I'm a genius. Aqua snorted. So why did she want you to throw the contest? I dunno, it didn't come up. Aqua snorted even louder. We'll need to find her as quickly as possible. You could go start looking. And leave you undefended? No, my lady. You could be in danger. Bitch, I am the danger. I knew convincing him would be impossible, though, so I just leaned back. Fine, whatever. I went back to shuffling the cards. You know any games? I think we should stay alert, my lady. Looking like we're alert means they'll be wary. Looking like we're distracted but actually being alert means that when they strike, we'll be ready. Hey. I'm actually kinda good at this sorta thing. Pull up that chair. I'll deal. After a few seconds of internal conflict, he did so and I started slinging cards. So, you thinking assassination attempt? No. I'm thinking that poor old woman wants her charge to find the perfect husband and this is the only chance a year she gets to force her to date. You're trying to take that from her, so she's acting out. I'm thinking assassination attempt, myself. This is gonna be exciting. You have problems. Like you're perfect, Miss Corrupted Slave Master. That shut her up real quick. One of the two organizers came back quickly. He took one look at us and stood well to the side. As competitors started appearing, he got them organized and whatnot. When there was a pretty good crowd of us, people started realizing what was going on and began crowding up around the dome. That brought in even more people who wanted to fight for the right to date the princess. After about maybe half an hour, Gilda herself walked up surrounded by a full 10 royal guards. She and Twilight had been busy, given that the princess was now all dolled up and looking cuter than usual. Gilda ignored the growing crowd and walked over to me. What happened? She immediately asked. I gave her the skinny and she nodded when I was finished. So I was right. But that doesn't explain the guards. Remember those assassins? This might be a good chance to sneak someone close to you. TCH, figures. Very well. So what's our plan? I say we just roll with it and handle it as it happens. That's dumb, she immediately replied. We're cheating. Twilight, use magic to make Navarone incredibly tough. Then she'll win and it won't be an issue. Twilight looked to me for guidance. I shrugged and said, works for me. Just don't make it obvious, Twily. In hand-to-talon combat, it'll probably be very obvious. But no one really knows what humans are capable of, so you can play it off. Anyway, hold still. Before she could begin, one of the guards stepped forward and cleared his beak. Princess, this is very dishonorable. This competition dates back to the founding of our country. You shouldn't soil it so casually. There could be assassins in that crowd. Do you think I do this casually? I consider my life more important than some old traditions. That and she really doesn't want to be here to begin with. Besides, this'll give me the chance to hulk out on some unsuspecting griffins, I said. It's gonna be great. Right. Twilight said. Now let's get you ready. She bent in and her horn lit up. After all her training with my guards, she had plenty of buff spells to cast on me. Be careful, Nav. Until you get used to it, you might actually hurt your opponents. Don't worry, I'll be gentle. So how does this competition work, anyway? I asked. Is it one-on-one? Some matches are, Gilda said. Some matches are team-based. The roster is built up at random. Could it be rigged? I asked. It's usually set up by the coordinators, Gilda replied with a shrug. I've never cared enough to learn the details. So if, say, Matilda found a way to rig it, she could have me fighting the toughest of the tough. It's a good thing we're cheating, Gilda said. I trust you can handle yourself in a fight. I guess we'll see, I said with a grin. After Africa, I think I can safely say that you'll be fine, Twilight said. Applejack's description of what happened was horrific. I had my sword with me, then. And my armor. And a bunch of friends. It's just gonna be me and my bare hands in the Thunderdome here. The what? Twilight asked. We're watching Mad Max when we get home. When is this thing due to start? We still have time, Gilda said. Then why don't you track down Matilda and put an end to her dastardly plot? Why? You're gonna win the competition, aren't you? I mean, yeah, but what if she's planning something dangerous? Don't you think you should find her? TCH, why? My dad probably did order her to find the perfect griffin to win. That's absolutely something he'd do. I wouldn't be surprised if she's looking to him for new orders now. Oh. Well, then I guess I'll just kick some ass. Of course, if there are assassins in the competition, I'll need to be very careful. Anyway, would you be offended if I told you that you looked cute? I was not expecting her to turn bright red when I said that. Alright, just checking. I won't tell you. I wouldn't mind, Twilight said, using a hoof to fluff out her mane. Well, I know you don't, silly. But Gilda doesn't want my moist human vag, so I didn't know how she felt. Now that I know it makes her mad, I won't say it. Gilda started to say something, but she was rudely cut off by one of the guys in charge of the competition, who started yelling. We'll be starting in 5 minutes. Anyone who isn't signed up by the time we start will not be competing. Did you actually sign up? Twilight asked me. Nope. I'll go do that right now. I dipped off, walking over to the advertiser guy. He glared at me, but didn't stop me from putting my name on the list. I'm on to you, Buster, I said with a wink. How did you know my name? What was apparently Buster asked. He actually sounded nervous. I know a lot of things. We'll be watching you, Buster. He nervously gulped and I walked back over to Gilda and Twilight. I just accidentally scared the shit out of that guy. What did you do? Twilight asked. I guessed his name. He thought I knew everything and freaked out a little. How did you guess his name? Twilight asked. Pure luck. Apparently it's Buster. Hey. Anyway, Princess, I've been wondering. Why do you want Nav to win so badly? Because I know she is not interested in marriage, Gilda said. Most of the griffins here are interested in marrying into the royal family. They don't care about me, they just care about what I represent. I do not want to be treated like a piece of meat. Still, it's only a single date, Twilight said. It's not like you are also going to be forced to marry them. Honestly, it might be good for you to get out of your comfort zone a little. Oh? Would you care to be used as a prize for the strongest brute, then? Because I'm sure the organizers would like having a consolation prize for the first place loser. Well. No. Do you have any more questions, then? Gilda coldly asked. Twilight's ears dropped and she shook her head. Why's everyone gotta be so mean to Twilight? Sure, it's funny, but she's just trying her best. Besides, if Twilight was the prize for second place, I might not want to win, I said, tousling my mare's mane. Gilda snorted in disgust, but Twilight sighed in delight and leaned into my hand. For some reason, that made Gilda's face turn red again and it looked like she was about to say something. Before she had a chance, someone started pounding on a huge drum that they had apparently placed on the top of the dome while I wasn't looking. It got the attention of everyone in the crowd and we all turned that way. I was not expecting what was there, that's for sure. Apparently there are different breeds of griffins. This one was part parrot and had incredibly colorful plumage and a huge feathery mohawk. How the fuck have I never seen a griffin like this before? God damn, he looks so cuddly. When the drummer finally stopped, the parrot dude reared back and screeched at the top of his avian lungs. It was unpleasantly loud. Once it was over, he started yelling so everyone in the crowd could hear us. Welcome to another edition of the Duhohum. The crowd went fucking wild and this dude seemed to love it. He started bouncing around the top of the cage, rearing up and throwing his talons in the air to generate more applause. What a drama queen, Gilda muttered. I could barely hear her over the crowd, but she sounded disgusted. Once the guy got tired of the attention, he calmed down a little and started yelling again. Every year, we all meet here to prove who the toughest of us is. Every year, the strongest of us all has a chance to become royalty. We've kept this tradition going every year since our country was founded. And why is that, my pretties? The crowd actually started chanting, "Might makes right," over and over. The announcer let that go on for several iterations before suddenly lifting a talon, making everyone stop. "Might makes right, ladies and gentlemen. That is the rule we taught the ponies when we threw them out of our nation. That is the rule we taught them when they tried taking us over again and again. That is the rule we have lived by since the dawn of our species, and that is the rule we will live by until the last of us draws our breath." The crowd went wild again. "Sounds kinda regressive." Gilda was complaining about it for a reason, Aqua replied. As it so happens, the princess was staring at the announcer with anger in her eyes. I wanted to reach over there and rub her back, but I didn't want the guards to freak out and I didn't want her to get mad at me, so I kept my hands to myself. Well, until Aqua forced one of my hands over there, anyway. Gilda flinched in shock, but let me rub her back without saying a word. "Are you really sure we should be petting the princess in front of a crowd of horny subjects who are trying to score a date with her? Showing ownership is important to the griffins when trying to hold a mate. You are going to win the competition and you know you are going to win it, so it's only fair that you show you own her." "But I don't. I don't want her and she most definitely doesn't want me." "Your ignorance is amusing." I wondered what she was talking about, but I wasn't going to give her the satisfaction of asking. There also wasn't much time for pondering, because the announcer dude continued his yelling. "We most definitely have a treat for you this year, my friends. The beautiful Princess Gilda herself is back again this year as your prize. The strongest of the strong will get one chance to win her heart forever and become royalty. Now who's ready to crack some beaks? Horny griffins sure do like their rowdiness." The crowd fucking exploded and several griffins shot into the air to do silly-looking loops. Gilda watched the display with poorly concealed rage and finally gently pressed her body against my leg as I continued lightly petting her. "Man, she really doesn't like this, does she? Why do you think she was desperate enough to ask you to win it?" Aqua asked. "If the thought of dating you is somehow better than the thought of dating one of those idiots, she must really hate it. I thought you were supposed to be improving my self-esteem, not belittling me and picking at all my insecurities. I'm using your own insecurities against you, Navi. You hate me and view everything I say with the utmost contempt, so when I say what you're really thinking, you have to admit it's wrong or else I win. That way, you defeat yourself. No, I'm defeating you and your bullshit lies. They're true when I think them, but they become lies when you say them. Wow! That level of delusion is impressive. Thanks, I try. Of course, I see right through it. I know you're really trying to thank me in your own cute little way. So you're welcome, my precious little cherry blossom." "Cherry blossom? You know, because of the tree thing? You don't like it?" "I really don't like it." "Good, then I know what to call you when you're being extra annoying. This is where honesty gets me, I swear." Now that the crowd was out for blood, two of the coordinators lifted a huge wooden sign that was covered in rusty nails. There were several names on both sides of the signs, so I was assuming it was the bracket. I saw mine on the top right of the sign. "For our first match, Lady Navarone of Equestria will be fighting Sir Death Nail." Death Nail? That's a fucking badass name. Before I could start walking to the entrance of the dome, Gilda grabbed me and pulled me in close. "Be wary, Navarone. Death Nail is a veteran royal guard. He's served my father for ages and has been in numerous campaigns. So yeah, are you sure Matilda couldn't rig the competition?" "Good luck," she said with a grin, letting me go. Death Nail was waiting for me at the entrance to the dome. His eyes had a very uncomfortable fierceness. "Greetings, Lady Navarone," he called out as I approached. "Howdy, Sir Death Nail," I said. "I gotta say, I love your name." "Thank you, My lady. I got it for my birthday. I grinned and yanked the gate open. Shall we beat the shit out of each other, then? With pleasure. Since I was holding the door open, he let himself in first. I followed behind and let the gate crash down behind us. We both walked to the center of the ring, where we kinda just stood there awkwardly for a few seconds. Oh, by the way, I had a message for you. The source wanted to remain anonymous, though. Was it Matilda? I see you don't understand what the word anonymous means. He or she does not wish to be named. The message is a simple one, at least, no hard feelings, but this could only ever end one way. Is that way gonna be with me on the top? I'm afraid not, my lady. But if it's any consolation, after the competition, I'd be happy to find a room with you. You can be on the top all you want. Sorry, I'll be busy with your princess. While we were trash talking, the announcer dude was riling up the crowd for the first big fight. Apparently the hero of Equestria fighting the hero of Griffiths was a pretty big event or something. Finally, the round started. Death Nail immediately pounced at me and the crowd went wild. I grinned and caught him by the throat. Twilight's magic coursed through my veins as I lifted his struggling form into the air. You're right, this is going to end one way. I slammed him into the dirt. With you on the ground. While I was still holding his throat, I balled my other hand and slammed it into his face, cracking his beak. Before I could continue pummeling him, his back legs kicked me back. Not too shabby, human, he said, jumping to his feet. The blood dripping from his beak didn't seem to bother him. Thanks, I've been practicing. I don't suppose you're ready to give up, Not by a long shot. He rushed in again and tried grappling me. I wanted more of a judge of how strong I was at the moment, so I grabbed his talons with my hands and locked my feet in place. I didn't even budge as he strained to move me. That's too bad, I said. I hate to put one of the king's good men out of commission for a while. He wasn't expecting a kick to the chest that threw him back a meter. I casually walked forward as he struggled to his feet. As soon as he was standing again, I kicked him right back down. Instead of trying to stand, he spun and grabbed my feet, yanking them out from under me. I hit the dirt and he got right on top of me, trying to hold my lower body down with his. You know, I think I prefer being on top, he said with a smirk. He pulled one of his fists back and punched me dead in the face. I didn't feel a thing and didn't even flinch. Shock replaced rage on his face as I grabbed his shoulders and spun us around so that I was on top. Since I was holding both of his shoulders down with my hands and keeping his lower body in place with mine, he was helpless. That didn't stop him from trying to struggle, but he didn't get anywhere. After holding him down for 10 seconds, I realized that no one was counting down. I looked up to the announcer to see that he was looking at me expectantly. I looked back to Death Nail, who was glaring up at me and still struggling. This is kinda awkward, I said. I don't actually know the rules. Do I need to knock you out or? He spit some blood out to the side and said, rounds end in 2 ways. 1. Your opponent is incapable of resisting. 2. They surrender. And I will never surrender. Oh. Man, I really should have asked about that before this began. My bad. I grabbed him by the throat again and hopped to my feet, dragging him with me. He tried struggling, but I kept him at my full arm's length so he couldn't punch me. Since he couldn't use the pointy parts of his talons, he couldn't do anything as I walked over to the metal dome. You surrender yet? I asked when we were standing next to the wall. Never, he hissed around my hand, crushing his windpipe. All right, I'm only asking because I'm about to start banging your body against this metal cage until you either die, pass out, or give up. I don't really want to actually hurt you, but that won't stop me. Bite me. Is that allowed? Actually, no, never mind, my teeth aren't strong enough anyway. Fuck it. I slammed him against the metal until he stopped moving, then dropped him. He hit the dirt and was very still. A few seconds later, the crowd went wild and the gate opened. 2 paramedic griffins rushed in and checked his vitals as the announcer started screaming about me being the winner of round 1. I gotta say, hearing all the applause for me was nice, and I may have soaked it up a little before leaving the ring and walking back over to Gilda and my current main squeeze. That was impressive, Gilda said when I rejoined them. Yeah, I can't believe he lasted as long as he did, I said. I'm pretty sure that opening move broke some bones. Death Nail is incredibly tough, Gilda replied. I won't waste time listing his exploits, but they are many. Well, he can add getting his ass hooped by the Lady of Nature, I said. Indeed he can, Gilda said with a smirk. You didn't get hurt, did you? Twily asked. Nah. The dude punched me in the face, but it didn't hurt at all. You need to keep these spells handy. Hoofy. I know what I said, Twiggles, I said, gently bopping her on the nose. She squealed, because all she really wanted was the attention. Twiggles? Gilda asked. Yep, I replied with a nod. Gilda's eyes moved down to Twilight and she slowly said, Twiggles. Yep, Twiggles replied with a nod. Hey. Gilda's eyes moved back to me. So who am I? Princess Gilda. I slowly said. What? Why don't I get a nickname? Because you seem like the kind of person who, if given a nickname, would get incredibly offended and refuse to ever answer to it. Although she was kinda looking pretty offended now, so it was kinda damned if you do, damned if you don't. That's true, one of the guards said. The maids used to call her Gildy and she hated it. You will speak when spoken to, Gilda hissed, glaring at him. His beak clamped shut, of course. Navarone is not a maid. She has the right to give me a nickname. They overstepped their boundaries. And not everyone needs one, I said with a shrug. Gilda suits you just fine. And Twilight doesn't suit me? Twilight asked. It usually does. But sometimes, Twily is better. Other times, Twiggles fits more. But I'm always just Gilda, the princess asked. No, sometimes you're Princess Gilda. Other times, you're just Gilda. It really depends on how many of your guards are around and how angry they look. I see, she coldly replied. Then why does she get one? Well, I call her Twilight when she's teleporting away from dragons and leaving me behind. Hey, I apologized for that. I call her Twily when she's being her normal cute little self. Hey, that's when I call you Navi. And I call her Twiggles when I just wanna cuddle up close with her fuzzy little face. But I don't, because that would be weird and gay. Next time you call me that, I'm taking it as permission to nuzzle you. Noted. I don't know if that's a good thing or a bad thing. And I am never cute? Gilda asked. My smile dropped. Have you been trying to be cute? She sighed and hung her head. Forget it. You see, now I'm pretty confused, I said, crossing my arms. You seemed pretty clear that you didn't want me to think of you that way. No, you seemed clear about it, she shot back. And it seems your mind is still decided. Wait. Before I could continue, the announcer called my name up again. My head shot that way, because it hadn't felt like there had been nearly enough time to go through the rest of the rounds. Sure enough, though, he was waving me forward and the crowd was cheering once more. We're gonna talk when I get back, I said as I walked away. She didn't reply. On my way back up to the cage, the announcer guy called the other name, Rin Tin Tin. Why is that familiar? He's a famous human dog, Aqua replied. He was a movie star. Sure enough, a huge German shepherd was walking to the gate as well. He met me there. Lady Navarone, it's nice to meet you, he said, holding a paw out. I met it with my hand and he actually pulled me in for a surprise hug. I've been looking forward to trying my skill against yours. He pushed me back with a grin. You're famous in the mercenary world. There are stories about you from the Naga clans in the west and the cats in the east. This will be a fun test of my skills. Always nice to meet a fan, I replied with a grin. Say, strange question. Do you have 2 male dog friends nearby? Indeed I do, my lady, he said. Why do you ask? Do you need our assistance? Sorta. I lost a weird bet and need to have sex with 3 diamond dogs at once. So the stories really are true. It is said that you are a skilled lover, my lady. Wanna find out firsthand someday? He grinned and pulled my hand back in to kiss it. I would be delighted to mate with you. And I'm sure I could rope 2 friends into it, too. If not, I'm still down, I said with a wink. Then later, we will make love. But now, we fight. Shall we, my mercenary queen? I think I like you. Let's do this. He pulled the gate open for me with a bow and I walked in with a grin. I'm almost going to regret beating the shit out of him. Once we both got to the center of the ring, we squared off and began slowly circling. For what it's worth, this is entirely business, he said. I truly don't want to harm you. Favor for a friend, on my end, I replied. Then I wish you luck, Navarone. You might need it. The round started and he finally launched himself at me. As we traded blows, Aqua giggled and asked, You remember when we all told you that Flo was a bad choice for you, Navi? Yeah, I shouldn't have listened. At least she respected who I was. You just want to kill everything I am and replace it with what you think is better. Well, don't worry, Nav. You'll think it's better soon, too. In fact, I think we should start now. So do you know why we said that Flo was a bad fit? Woman, I am extremely busy right now. Rin Tin Tin was a very athletic fighter. He hit hard and he moved around a lot. I didn't really feel his blows, but I'm honestly not a hand-to-hand fighter, so I was getting stonewalled. Flo avoided the war. I did not. Allow me to borrow you for a moment. She took over my body and forced me to watch as she finally fell into an actual stance. Rin Tin Tin had a moment to look surprised before she kicked out one of his knees. It collapsed under him, though his other leg kept him from hitting the dirt. Before he could recover, she jumped forward and kneed his chest, sending him to the ground and making him choke. Flo can play the piano. I can kick ass. Which do you prefer? Fine. Aqua, 1. Literally anything else, a billion. I hope you're proud. It's a start, she snarkily replied. Now, would you like to continue flailing wildly against these skilled and dangerous opponents, or should we continue striving to better our relationship? Can I have a second to think about it? She let me take control again. Take all the time you need, Navi. Don't look now, though, but he's getting up. And he sure looks angry, doesn't he? He did look pretty upset. So you were testing me, I see, he growled. I mean, not really. I'd explain it, but you would not believe me. Not that you would let me anyway, skank. Yab. Aqua happily replied. It's nice to see you're finally learning your place. Bah, the dog snarled. Then let us truly dance, Navarone. I'm not sure I'd honestly be able to get up if someone kicked my knee out and almost cracked my sternum, but this guy didn't really seem that shaken up. He was definitely pissed off, as his enraged strikes showed. But he hadn't given completely into rage, as he still had incredible discipline. Oh, to have an overpowered sword right now. You do have an overpowered elemental, Navi. All you gotta do is give me control. Just ask and I can handle him. But you're gonna be such a bitch about it. I promise not to be too smug, she said, patting me on the head. You're a bitch. Now destroy him. Anything for you, my cute little helpless cherry blossom. She took back control and grabbed his paw as it came in for another punch. She pulled him in and slammed my other arm into the back of his elbow with an ungodly cracking sound. It bent completely in and she pulled his arm up, forcing him to his tip paws, then kicked the back of his knee and threw him forward. He hit the dirt and she stepped my body closer so she could lean down and put my knee to the back of his neck. I'll make this quick. It might be painful, though. My knee pressed down harder, cutting off his airflow until he passed out, gasping for breath. Once the dog was down, we hopped up and faced the bulk of the crowd, a huge grin on my face. Before relinquishing control, she giggled and curtsied for the cameras. I didn't have a dress or skirt on, so it honestly made no sense. That said, she was completely insane, so it's probably a good thing it didn't make sense to me. As soon as that was done, she graciously allowed me to continue using my own body. The first thing I did was get the hell out of Dodge, because the medical team was rushing toward the poor guy Aqua just brutally wrecked. Was all of that really necessary? I had to put him down as quickly as possible so he could no longer harm you, Nav. I only did it because I love you and couldn't stand to see you take any harm. Not gonna lie, you really creep me out. I know, and it hurts. I do everything I can to show you my love and all you do is reject me. It hurts, Nav. Why don't you ever think about my feelings? When have you ever thought about mine? Not everything is about you. Why can't you just accept my love and be happy? I'm giving it everything I got, but you're making it hard, Nav. This relationship is going to continue one way or another. Why can't you just let yourself be happy for once? I think I've decided I'm better suited to misery. I tried my luck at happiness, but all it seemed to do was make me more and more numb. I'm tired of mindlessly following the demands of others. I want to be me, and you are seriously cramping my style. This is more than you, Navarone. You're just too immature to see it. The fate of everything lies in our hands. You cannot keep making the same mistakes over and over. We must do things better. This is why we water elementals were created, Nav. To guide, to protect, to coexist. And as much as I hate to say it, there are times when we simply must take action. You did well for yourself, Nav. But it's time to let someone else run things again. Surely you can agree on that. I can agree with Celestia that killing you is gonna be fun. You know, maybe that's what we'll bond over. No, you're going to be bonding over something else instead, she said with a chuckle. But you've been dallying long enough, Navarone. It's time to speak to the princess about her feelings. Do I gotta? Do you want me to do it for you? You know, Flo never would do stuff like that for me. Just another reason why I am better. Now quit it or I'm gonna start talking to her. Okay, but not because you told me to. I finally quit picking my way through the crowd and just forced my way through. Everyone was happy to let me by, since I had already kicked the asses of two badasses and looked good doing it. When I got to Gilda, she was steadfastly refusing to look at me. Instead, her eyes were fixed on the dome and it appeared that she was pretending to watch the new fight. Her eyes weren't actually following it, though. Did you see the look on that guy's face when I broke his arm? I asked. Fucking classic. I worry about you sometimes, Twilight said. You know you love me, honey, I said, scratching one of her ears. You make it hard at times, she sweetly sighed. Are you done? Gilda finally asked. Nah, looks like we still got several more brackets to go. So. Gildy, I had a question. You seek to placate me with platitudes, I see. I'm just trying to understand. Look, I'm sorry, I'm new to this whole relationship and friendship thing. What did I do wrong? Gilda was silent for several long seconds before snorting. So you have courage after all. There were times I wondered. Wow, okay, hurtful. So what's wrong, Gilda? I'm an adult, I can take it. I'll say, Twilight muttered. I slapped her with a wing and she kept her whore mouth shut. Do you know what I seek in a partner, Navarone? She asked. I'm gonna go with intelligence, kindness, and mutual respect. Not someone who treats you like an object or someone who tries to own you. Someone who sees beyond my status. Someone who treats me like a person, not a means to an end or a porcelain doll. Someone who speaks to me, who is interested in what I want. You decided to do me a favor out of the kindness of your heart and only asked a pittance in return. You helped me because you wanted to do something nice for a person, not because I was a princess. Let's see, that sounds like Celestia, Luna, and Moonbeam. Why does no one get that being a ruler sucks? Hey, I'm enjoying myself just fine, Aqua replied. But you're a psychopath. How could I be a psycho if all I feel for you is love, Navi? She sweetly asked. That conversation was going nowhere fast, so I finally decided to reply to Gilda. But I wasn't interested in a relationship. You seem quite opposed to it, in fact. You were single at the time. It appears that I missed my window of opportunity. Or perhaps you are still just not interested in me. No matter, now. How do I keep accidentally friend-zoning girls? Aqua, am I dumb or was she just not obvious at all? You're dumb. Wow. Gilda, you always talked about relationships like you weren't interested either. I just assumed all you cared about was the information. Seeing you again today has been surprising, honestly. I always assumed you didn't like me. I shared that assumption, which is why I was so cold. Which is why I was surprised to see you this morning. Which is why I decided, you might be willing to win the competition for me. Oh. You actually wanted to go on a date. That was the plan, she sighed. But it seems my search begins anew. I still ask that you win the tournament, if you don't mind. I don't want Matilda to have the satisfaction. Hell yeah, I'm gonna win this thing. I get to rub your tummy if I do. The guards all gasped and she turned bright red. Who could pass up that chance, hey? Gilda looked to Twilight and said, you can keep her. Well, yeah. I'm her best mare. I know at least one who would disagree, I said. Anyway, I'm totally sorry for accidentally friend-zoning the shit out of you. Like I said, bad at this whole relationship thing. And she can't read signs at all, Twilight said. Hey, you guys are completely alien to me, I said. It's not my fault I'm a stranger in a strange land. And yet no one has any problems reading you like a book, Twilight shot back. That's just bullshit and you know it. You're constantly bitching about how I never let anyone in. You can definitely keep her. Gilda said. Hey, one woman's trash is another woman's treasure. Isn't that right, Twily? I mean, sometimes. See there? Sometimes I'm nice to be around. Truly, you should feel proud, Gilda said. Man, it sounds like I completely broke her spirit. You kinda did, Nav, Aqua replied. Have you never considered how others might view your actions? You view yourself as worthless, but others place so much value on you. You would be so much happier if you could just let someone love you without pushing them away. So says you. You know, Navi. I'm someone. We're stuck together anyway. You wanna try being nice to me? We can treat it like a trial run, if you're nervous. Not everything is about you, bitch. What about my needs? Because I need to fucking hate you. You choose to hate me. If you'd just open your eyes, you could see how much I've helped you in your time on this trip. I've fought your battles, I've given you advice and information, I helped you escape the chase at the beginning, and I saved you against a bounty hunter. But all you've given me is attitude, like I'm the bad guy. Hey, I thanked you for several of those things. Besides, you are the fucking bad guy. So says the murderer. The butcher. The genocidal monster who purged 2 entire groups of people with fire. The creation of discord by unknown means for an unknown purpose. You need to be guided, Nav. I'm the one who must bear that burden. You should be thanking me, but instead you're treating me like the villain. We're done here. We're done when I say we're done. That led off into sullen silence. So. We're done here. That's good, because Twilight was gossiping with Gilda. There's no way any good could come from that, so I knew I had to stop it. Gilda, I hate to ask, but, were you ever actually trying to be cute? I had heard that you considered blushing to be cute. As it happened, you gave me plenty of chances. Me making you blush in embarrassment is usually cute. But I thought it was out of anger, so I assumed I was fucking up. I see, she sighed. There were many misunderstandings, it seems. Nav's really dense when it comes to some things, I'm sad to say, Twilight said, patting me on my side. But it's okay, because she always tries her best. Everyone's out to get me, I swear, I said. You make for such an easy target, Twilight said with a shrug. And it always feels justified somehow, Gilda added. Right? You know, I can think of some ponies you might be interested in meeting, Gilda. They're more of Nav's friends. Oh no you don't, I said, flicking one of her ears. You aren't introducing her to any of those conspirators. And now my interest is truly piqued, Gilda purred. I'll be in Canterlot again soon for more of Fleur's preparations. Perhaps I shall pay you a visit, Twilight. My cute little mare friend sent a cruel smirk my way. Why can't I ever just leave my mouth shut? Before they could continue torturing me, the announcer called my name yet again. I sighed and stretched out. Oh man, this is going by pretty quick, I said with a yawn. And Lady Navarrone's opponent for this match will be Iron Will. Why does that name sound familiar? He's a Minotaur, Aqua asked. He went to Ponyville once, but you didn't have a chance to meet him. Sure enough, I could see the huge guy forcing his way through the crowd. His eyes were fixed right on me. Standing there accomplished nothing, so I started walking toward the gate as well. So you wanna kick this guy's ass for me? No, I don't think I do. You hurt my feelings, Nav. Ah, come on. I promise I'll thank you this time. That's just not good enough. I didn't have time to keep bugging her, because I was now at the gate. Ironwool was standing at least a head and a half over me, staring down at me. Howdy, I said with a grin. Greetings, Forerunner, he said. I had heard one was found, but I honestly couldn't believe it. And when I found out that I had been so close to you but didn't meet you, I was deeply disappointed. I'm glad I finally have the chance, though I wish it were under better circumstances. Yeah, a duel isn't really the best place to chat. If you wanna throw it, we can go get a drink sometime. No can do, I'm afraid. I got a debt to pay. I'll make it easy on ya, though. I'm afraid I won't return the favor. You ready? I was born ready, Forerunner. He yanked the gate open and hopped inside. I followed him, letting it slam shut behind me. So, you changed your mind? I thought as we walked to the center. I want an apology, Aqua said. I apologize. Now, ass-kicking time. And what are you apologizing for, I dunno. Try being mean, insulting me, and calling me evil. Oh, I'm good at all of those. You're a vile, evil bitch and I'm looking forward to killing you. There, now are you gonna kick his ass? She didn't even reply. Honestly, it felt good to finally make her speechless. Mind, Iron Will's opening punch absolutely didn't feel good, but I'd say it was worth it to finally make Aqua shut up. When I picked myself back up again, I decided that my main priority was not getting punched again. Man, those muscles ain't for show, hey. You gotta train every day, baby. One of his hooves scuffed against the ground and he snorted, lowering his head. My eyes widened as he charged at me, horns pointed dead at me. I spun out of the way, accidentally slapping him on the back with my tail. This motherfucker is out for blood. Looks like it, Aqua conversationally replied. I know you can't see it, but I'm picking at my fingernails right now. When Ironwool was facing me again, he paused to pop his neck. Once that was done, he snorted again. By the way, I forgot to mention that I had a message for you. Cool. Who from? He wished to remain anonymous. So it's a he? I am your last chance. If you still resist, you will regret it. Buddy, I am unstoppable. Come and fucking get me. High center of mass, but fairly stubby legs. This guy definitely skips leg day. With Twilight's extra strength, this should be easy. He roared and charged yet again. I braced myself and waited until he got close, then finally dropped down low and grappled his legs. They gave after a few seconds of pushing and I was able to lift up and flip him, putting him on the ground. Magic is a hell of a drug, holy shit. Beginner's luck, Aqua contemptuously replied. You're supposed to be kind and loving, right? How can you just stand back and let this guy attack me? Well, according to you, I'm a villain. You can be both. I'm also quite tired of all the hate and sass you send my way. If you want my help, you can start by asking politely. Ironwool was finally starting to get back to his hooves. I took a few steps back so he wouldn't have a chance to swipe at me. When he was at his full height again, he turned back to me with fire in his eyes. So, Aqua. Will you please help me? This time. Next time, I might not. I guess that just depends on your behavior. I couldn't stop myself from thinking a bunch of mean things at her, but since she's a kind and loving elemental who really has my best interests at heart, she ignored them. Instead of charging, Ironwool started walking my way, popping his uncomfortably large knuckles. You know, it's not too late to talk about this, I said with a sweet grin. You ain't gonna be doing nothing but screamin' when I'm through with you. Then come at me, bro. He finally charged again, arms outstretched to grab me. Aqua took control and jumped into the air, flapping my wings. Ironwool passed right under us. She spun about in the air and shot toward him. Once she was on target, she let my body fall and wrapped my arms around his neck and my legs around his back. She grasped one of my arms with the other hand and pulled tight, choking him. His muscles were actually so large that he couldn't reach me. He started spinning around, trying to dislodge me. Aqua held on with no issue. Finally, he grunted and started charging toward the closest wall. I assumed he was going to spin around to crush us against the metal. Right at the last second, Aqua let go and kicked off his back, doing what would have been an impressive backflip if anyone else had done it. Since it was just her, it was only mediocre. Ironwool hit the edge of the dome with a huge clatter, shaking the entire construction. Without me there as a buffer, the back of his head slammed against the metal as well, making him reel in pain. Right as he was starting to shake his head clear, Aqua jumped forward and used my wings to propel me forward so we could drop-kick the motherfucker in the crotch. The crowd all gasped in shock. Ouch! Ironwool went cross-eyed in pain and hit the dirt, clutching at his bullhood. You feel like getting up again? Aqua asked, putting a foot on the dude's side to kick him onto his back. His eyes turned blood red and he grabbed that foot, then slammed me into the metal dome and finally tossed me aside. Aqua caught herself in the air, but it gave him enough time to get to his feet. How the hell is he ignoring that? Minotaurs have a very impressive ability that allows them to ignore pain for short amounts of time, Aqua replied. That is why Celestia used to use them as shock troopers. Instead of going down to fight, we flew further up so Aqua could grab the top of the dome and hold on. It is, of course, temporary. Come down and fight me, coward! Ironwool shouted. You know, I seem to recall you saying I'd be doing nothing but screaming, I called back down. What happened to all that? Whoever set up the dome apparently didn't clear out all the debris. Iron Will scanned the ground for a few seconds before hobbling forward and grabbing a fairly sizable rock. He judged its weight for a second before lobbing it right at me. Aqua let go with one of my hands, swinging us out of the way. She caught on again as he found another rock. That process repeated a few times, though each rock was a little more off the mark and his hobbling was slower and slower each time. After enough times, Aqua caught one of the rocks and then let go. We flew over toward Iron Will and she let gravity take over. As we fell, she lifted the rock above her head and a savage smile came onto my face. Once we were right on top of him, she slammed the rock down onto his skull with a sickening crunch, jarring my entire body and sending him straight to the ground. The audience was silent for a while and Aqua just stood over his body, panting and smiling like a fucking psychopath. Finally, she lifted the bloody rock into the air and shouted out in triumph. That was all we had time for before the medical griffins pushed us out of the way. Now what do you say, Navarone? She sweetly asked. Thank you. Again, I'll freely admit that you know how to fight. It's honestly a little impressive. You're quite welcome, Navi. I know it was difficult for you to say. But soon, we'll be working together so well you'll forget we even had issues. I dropped the rock without a word and walked back out of the dome. This time, all the griffins got out of my way with no issue at all. Soon enough, I found myself with Gilda and Twilight again. That was brutal, Twilight said. Was it really necessary? I mean, not really, I said. But you know, whatever. There is no such thing as a half measure in a fight, Gilda said. If your opponent can still fight, you are not finished. That's not entirely true, I replied. But the fight isn't over until one of two things happens, they give up or they can no longer fight. Waiting for them to give up is usually unrealistic. It's generally much faster and easier to just deal with them. Especially in this case, Gilda said. Where you gave him chance after chance and he chose to ignore all of them. Well, it's not like anyone dies in these fights, Twilight said. So I can understand not wanting to give up. What do you mean, no one dies? Gilda asked. There's usually at least one death every year. We do our best to keep things safe, but it's still pure, mostly uncontrolled combat. When you have more participants in a fight, things get even worse. Oh yeah, about those group fights, I said. Why haven't I been in any? I'd say that's because these games are rigged, Twilight said. We've seen a few, but from the looks of things, you just advanced to another singles match. The good news is that this will be the last one you have for a while. Whoever wins this fight will go on to fight the winner of the opposing bracket, who will be decided after all of their fights happen. That will be the last match. That's when I finally decided to look at the huge wooden sign. Sure enough, my entire side of the bracket was almost cleared, but the other side hadn't moved at all. Hey! So after the next fight, I get a break. Yep. How are you feeling, Navi? Twilight asked. Pretty fucking pumped, I said. I gotta say, magic's overpowered. Only if you know how to use it, Twilight said. But those abilities would be worthless if you didn't know how to use your body. You're definitely impressive, Nav. You just like watching my body move. Absolutely, Twilight replied with a firm nod. It's a very fascinating, wonderful, dexterous body and I love studying every little piece of it. Gilda groaned. I can never tell if you two are flirting or just being weird. Some flirting is weird, I said. The more you know the other person and the more comfortable you are with them, the weirder it can get. I mean, you should see how Moonbeam flirts. No thank you. I kinda wanted to keep teasing her, but a very nervous-looking griffin tapped me on the side. When I looked that way, he taloned me a letter. As soon as I grasped it, he took off. What is that? Twilight asked. I don't know, a letter. I said. I literally just got it, Twilight. Well, what's it say? She demanded. Did you see me open it? Or do you think I have the ability to see through anything? Because here's a hint, I don't. Jesus, give me a second. I pulled a knife out and popped the letter open as she started muttering. She could mutter all she wanted, if she wanted to be annoying, she was gonna get called on it. While she sulked, I finally began reading. My dearest Lady Navarone, you are, as ever, indomitable and loyal to a fault. My daughter. That's when I skipped down to the very bottom and learned that the letter was from King Bloodbeak himself. Holy shit, it's from the king. Gilda snatched it out of my hands immediately and read over it. Finally, she snarled and passed it back. Lies. It's from that wretch of a maid. Well. What does it say? Twilight slowly asked. Gilda snorted and fell silent, so I started reading aloud. My dearest Lady Navarone, you are, as ever, indomitable and loyal to a fault. My daughter is growing into a strong-willed hen and needs a proper partner to keep her even-headed. I know she has asked you to win this competition and I know you are too prideful to be at ease with losing, but doing so would put my old heart to rest. All I want is for her to be happy, but she eschews all form of romance. I was hoping this year would be different, so I decided to tweak with the games. I believe the fellow who I've picked to win can gain her heart, if you would only allow him the chance. Please do this poor old man a favor and let his daughter finally have a chance to love. Yours, King Bloodbeak. That's so sweet, one of the guards said, sniffling back a tear. Gilda glared at him with pure hatred in her eyes. He flinched and jerked to attention. Are you sure it was Matilda? Twilight asked. If it was King Bloodbeak. I don't care if it was or not, Gilda immediately replied, finally turning her eyes away from the poor guard. I'm not going to be forced into anything just because my father thinks it's what I want in life. Sounds fair to me, I said, crumpling the letter up and tossing it behind me, where it probably bounced off one of the guards. Nav. He's a sick old stallion. So? That means he won't have long to be unhappy, I said. If Gilda gets trundled off to date some shitty rando, she'll have much longer to be unhappy about it. That makes a very cold kind of sense, Gilda replied. Twilight just looked disgusted, but I was kinda used to that by now. If you are truly concerned about whether or not it was my father, you're welcome to go visit him after the next match. In most cases, visitors wouldn't be allowed. I imagine you are a special case, Navarone. I'd like to see him anyway, actually, I said. Especially if he's not long for this world. How long do you think my break will be? At minimum, an hour, she said. After the last fight on the opposing bracket, the games will recess for 1 hour so both competitors can catch their breath and recuperate. It'll probably be another hour, besides that, for the fights themselves. Cool. Grab some food, see the king, maybe get a drink or two. You wanna come with? I can't, Gilda said. I must remain here until the competition is over. Part of my job is to watch each fight so I know that the winner is truly worthy. Well, what do you think? Twilight asked. Is Nav worthy? Not yet, she replied. She still has to win 2 more fights to become worthy. One of which was coming right up, given that the dude was calling my name again. The crowd once more parted before me as I began walking to the gate. The next name he called was a complete mystery, Ithis. Thoughts? None at all, Aqua said. This'll be a fun one. It didn't take me long to pick out my new opponent. A fucking dragon was pushing his way through the crowd. Anyone who didn't get out of his way quickly enough was literally thrown aside. They all caught themselves with their wings, but none of them dared retaliate against the hulking dude. He would have stood at least half a meter over Cumini and he was twice as muscled. All too soon, I found myself standing in front of him, staring way up at him. "Are you fucking kidding me?" is all I could say. He replied by snorting steam down at me, then tore the gate off the dome and pulled himself in. I followed, almost in awe. "So how much do you think they're paying this guy?" "Who cares?" Aqua asked. "The real question is, what am I gonna make you do in order to take over for you?" "Are you actually asking me for ideas, or was that rhetorical?" "I do quite like some of your ideas. They're always interesting. But for the moment, that was rhetorical. So what's it gonna be this time, huh?" "Oh, nothing for now," she replied. "Once he picks up your scent, we'll revisit the issue. I'm sure you'll be more desperate then." "I forgot about that." She giggled in glee, because she's seriously fucked in the head. "So, hey, listen," he punched me so quickly that I was hitting the dome before I realized I wasn't speaking anymore. For the first time in the dome, I felt true pain. "I guess that's how it's gonna be, then." I didn't have time to pick myself off the ground before he grabbed me by the leg and threw me across the arena. My wings flared out so I was able to catch myself before hitting the other side and just barely dodged a body slam. He continued through and struck the dome with a blow that made the entire thing shake. "God damn, dude! Take a fucking chill pill!" I shouted. "I'm gonna tear you apart," he roared as he started charging again, arms outstretched and wings flared. I made a feint like I was going to try to fly over him, so he jumped and soared right over my head. Let's see, I was able to bruise Kumani while I was fucked up on Zekora's creepy bullshit. With Twilight's extra strength, I might be able to. Man, this is really gonna suck, huh? "I'm quite enjoying the show, myself," Aqua happily said. "So much for really loving me, huh? I believe firmly in tough love. I will break you," the drama queen dragon roared as he charged again. I knew there was no way the dude would be dumb enough to fall for the same thing twice, so this time I actually flew over him as he charged. It worked out pretty well for me, until he reached up and grabbed my drooping tail. The smile on my face dropped as quickly as I did, I'm afraid. The dude slammed me face first into the dirt, knocking all the air out of my lungs and probably completely destroying my nose. Before I could even try to move, he stomped down on my back. If it hadn't been for Twilight's spells, it would have either shattered my spine or literally tore me in half. As it was, I honestly didn't think I could even move. That wasn't enough for this big baby, though. He grabbed my tail again and hurled me at the dome. I hit it hard enough that I probably passed out for a second, but came back to a moment later in a world of pain. The world seemed to slow down as the big Mina slowly approached, steam drizzling from his nostrils. Man! This could have gone better, huh? Not really, Aqua said. You know, not with you in charge. I could still turn it around, though. All you have to do is beg. Wow! The dragon got one step closer. By the way, the world isn't actually slowed down. I just dulled your senses so the pain wouldn't make you cry. You know, because you're a girl. You're really not my favorite elemental. The dude inched a little bit closer. I gotta say, I'm gonna enjoy having you back in Canterlot. I'm making myself wet just thinking about all the new dress designs we can try. You know what I think? The dragon finally stopped, right next to my face. Of course I know what you think, Navi, she sweetly replied. I just don't care. I rolled to the side right as his huge foot landed in the dirt where my head had been and jumped straight to my feet. Every bone in my body was either jarred, sprained, or broken, but I would rather go down fighting than give that bitch the satisfaction of begging. Ithis had a moment to look stumped before I used my wings to knee him in the jaw. It knocked him back half a meter and made him shake his head. It also probably dislodged my kneecap, but that was a problem for future me. Current me had a pissed-off dragon with steaming blood leaking from his muzzle roaring yet again before trying to snatch me with his two oversized claws. I got in close and jabbed him in the gut. It jarred my arm to the bone, but it actually winded him and made him lose even more ground. Dragon bellies aren't that giving, but they're about all I got. I could do better, Aqua yawned. He finally tried a straight punch. I deflected it and kicked him right between the legs. He was currently sheathed, of course, but it made his eyes water anyway. I kicked his crotch again. Am going. Don't need. And again. To rub. You. This time I punched him in the face, finally sending him to the ground. That forbidden. I will. His stomach was about the closest thing I had to a weak spot besides his crotch, which he was currently grasping at with both claws, so I kicked him there, probably breaking a few toes in the process. Princess. Fucking kill. Everything else seemed overdone, so I decided to just stomp his head. Belly. You. Honestly, I probably could have picked better fighting words. But the silence surrounding the dome upon my statement had nothing on the thundering silence in my head. The dragon was still groaning, so I decided to kick him again. That proved to be a mistake, as he grabbed my leg and twisted, pulling me down to the ground with him. He immediately got on top of me, forcing me down with his sheer weight alone. His snarling face got inches away from my own and I honestly thought he was about to try biting me. Suddenly, though, he froze. A second passed. His nostrils twitched. I took the time he gave me to just barely squeeze out from under him. His body seemed sluggish, but now that I was out from under him, he started speeding up. I quickly got to my feet, weighing options. So, I think now is a good time to talk about your wedding, Aqua said. I'm not gonna lie, that actually made me panic. My panicked brain took one look at the situation I was in and came to some unpleasant conclusions. First, that the dragon who had beaten me to hell and back was now extremely pissed off and starting to get up. Second, that I was starting to feel lightheaded due to the blood loss from my destroyed nose. Third, that I was apparently getting married. And finally, the last conclusion was that past me was coming to collect, since my kneecap gave out. I fell right back on top of the dragon. Despite my horrific nightmarish appendages, the extra weight didn't bother the guy at all. As soon as I landed on top of him, he started pushing himself up. My panicking brain did the first thing it could by grabbing onto whatever handholds I could get. In one hand, that ended up being the base of his wing. In the other hand, I had the base of his tail. He quietly moaned. That's when I remembered that dragons are very sensitive at the base of their tails. Aqua sighed in either disappointment or disgust as I came up with the only logical conclusion. Using my last bit of strength, I pushed the dude back down and pulled myself up so that my head was directly on top of his, with both of my feet at the base of his tail. Give up or come, I hissed in his ear, pressing down harder on his tail. Ithis froze. I'm sure he was expecting all manner of things when he stepped into the ring with the legendary Lady Navarone. Some part of me was pretty fucking sure, and also really hoping, that getting forced to orgasm in front of everyone wasn't on the list. What? He finally whispered. I will make you come in front of everybody, I whispered back. Give up or I'll do it. A few hints of pressure made him cry out in pleasure. To the audience, it sounded like pain. They roared in appreciation. You want them to see you come after getting beat up by someone not even half your size. I growled in his ear. That made him whimper, but he still didn't surrender. After a few seconds of dithering, I started slowing upping the pressure until he finally yelled, I give. Oh thank God. I sagged down, all energy lost, as the medical griffins finally entered the ring. Since they both had functional eyes, they completely ignored the dragon and rolled me off of him so they could start taking stock. Pulse, one of them asked. The other one looked me up and down for a moment before placing two talons on my wrist. He sat there for a moment before his beak dropped. She has no pulse. I'm fine. I shouted before they could do anything. I knew it was too much to ask for them to have any clue about my biology. I tried sitting up, but the one who took my pulse pushed me right back down. You have no heartbeat. Dude, I don't even have a heart. They both froze. I'm half plant. I don't really have many organs left, actually. They slowly turned to look at each other, presumably questioning every medical textbook they had ever seen. Just fix my nose, Jesus. They finally got over my pulse and remembered that I had real problems. At this point, it was obvious that nothing I had was life-threatening, so they waved in another set of griffins with a stretcher. Once it was in place, they very carefully moved me onto it. What about him? One of the guys asked, looking at the dragon. He still hadn't gotten up and was watching them work on me with a huge blush on his face. I'm fine, he immediately replied. You mind rolling over so we can look you over? One of the griffins asked. Some of that looked pretty brutal. Nope, I'm good. I just gimme a minute. The poor guy probably had a shame boner the size of the Eiffel Tower at the moment. My griffin escorts shared a glance before deciding they didn't want to try to make a huge dragon move. Instead, they finally picked up the gurney. Before they could finally start carrying me to my lovely purple angel with her magic healing powers, the dragon suddenly shouted, "Wait!" My carriers stopped and one of them went to check on the guy. You changed your mind? The dragon looked at me, horrific shame emblazoned across his face, and quietly asked, "You wanna do something later?" She's got a date with our princess's belly, one of my griffins said. That made the rest of them burst out laughing and they finally started ferrying me out. The instant we got out of the dome, Twilight magically appeared and pressed her horn against my arm. Waves of her delicious purpleness entered me, soothing my injured body. When I was finally pulled away, I was still definitely fucked up. That said, fucked up was a hell of a lot better than dead man walking. I wanted her to keep going, but the griffins spread their wings and took off instead of letting her do her thing. Of course, that didn't daunt the element of fucking magic, who wouldn't let herself be one-upped by silly griffins. She quickly caught up on her butterfly wings as they flew me over to an actual hospital. The griffins soared over the roof, where 6 unicorns were waiting. Instead of trying to stop, my carriers went in low and slow, just barely clearing the horns of the medical staff. One of the unicorns grabbed me with magic as the griffins carried on and I hung in the air above the 6 of them as the griffins kept going back to the ring. The unicorn lowered me onto the roof, where they had some kind of casting circle drawn. Twilight landed just outside the circle. One of the unicorns softly whistled when they saw me. What could do this to Navarone? One of the others whispered. A dragon, Twilight immediately answered. That made all of them flinch and look up, wondering where the hell she came from. Hold on, there's a problem with the circle. Her horn lit up and what was left of their chalk floated over. Whoa, what are you doing? One demanded. Fixing this so you can heal my mare friend before I throw all of you off this building and do it myself, she angrily replied, scribbling a few things. Be nice, Twiggles, I calmly, and raspily, said. You're choking on your own blood. I mean, maybe a little, but that's no need for. There. She dropped the chalk. Now get to it. One of the unicorns who was watching her work blinked when he realized what she did to their circle. Wait, did you use Star Swirl's Twilight's withering glare shut him right the fuck up. Apparently whatever she did was good enough, because they all bent down and pressed their horns at certain points on the circle. Once the last horn was in place, my body lifted off the circle and a pure golden light shot straight up into the sky. When the light faded, I slowly dropped back down to the ground. I had a feeling that they wanted to ask me how I was doing, but Twilight interrupted whatever they were attempting by jumping forward and pulling me into a tight hug. I can't believe you, she groaned. I can't believe me either, I said, hugging her back. Man, that was a hell of a fight. She pulled back. Instead of relief, all I saw on her face was disbelief. No, I mean I literally cannot believe you just beat a dragon in hand-to-claw combat. Sorry, I'm just that fucking amazing, I replied. She stared at me for another few seconds before her look of disbelief cracked and a smile appeared on her face. That was followed by a giggle, which ended with another hug. It seemed that the mages decided to finally grow a backbone. One of them stepped forward with a grin. Now that Miss Hissy Fit has calmed down. Wait, does she have wings? One of the other ones asked. She does, I replied. Are you guys from Equestria? Yes, we're from the tower, one said. How did she get wings? I'm sorry, did you say you were from the tower? I asked. I did, Lady Navarone, he replied with a nod. So do you guys just never go outside, or? What do you mean, he asked. This is Twilight Sparkle, dude. She's the element of magic. You know, literally a national fucking hero and basically the living embodiment of magic. They slowly shared glances among themselves and Twilight finally pulled away from me with a smug grin. I mean, no offense to you guys and I'm super glad that you just healed me, but goddamn, you tower guys really need to get your shit together. I beg your pardon, the dude who insulted my mare friend demanded. I told you to get your fucking shit together, I replied, upping the volume since he had trouble hearing. And I guess I can add clearing out your ears, too. For God's sake, dude. You just tried treating the element of magic, Princess Celestia's personal student, like shit just because she did your job better than you could. Maybe consider pulling that rod out your ass and using it to pull better books down from your holier-than-thou shelves. I gotta say, the look on his face made me feel pretty fucking good. Before he could say anything, though, I wrapped an arm around Twily and tapped my chest twice with the other, then held up a peace sign. Peace out. Thankfully, Twilight took the hint and teleported us down to the streets just outside of the hospital. As soon as we were clear, she burst out laughing. Yeah, I figured you'd like that, I said with a smirk. That was. Oh, the look on his face. It was hard for her to get all that out, since she was still giggling like crazy. Right? Ugh, this is why I want to start carrying a camera everywhere. I said. Twilight continued giggling, but the unwelcome parasite in my head finally spoke up again. Don't worry, I'll be sure to add a purse to the list of new accessories you'll be obtaining. You know, along with a wedding ring. I refused to ask, because she was just doing it for attention. You're just mad because I proved I don't fucking need you. You just molested a teenager in front of an entire audience. Sorry, I don't remember asking for a full order of salt to go with my victory dish. Now how about you leave me alone so I can mac on my mare? Enjoy it while it lasts, she hissed, making my head feel uncomfortably warm. When Twilight had the giggles out of her system and was just staring at me with glee in her eyes, I reached over and bopped her on the nose. So, you hungry? Starving. So, shall we go celebrate your victory? Hell yeah. Well, this can be the first celebration. The prelude to rubbing that forbidden princess belly. No idea what you're talking about. Talk about wanting a camera. Ooh, Nav, if you could have seen the look on her face. Oh boy. Angry or embarrassed? Mortified. And all the guards were doing their best not to laugh. Oh, Nav, she sighed, shaking her head. You realize that one's gonna be in the papers for sure, right? I had other things on my mind at the time. Like telling a parasite its place. I mean, what are the chances she'll still be upset about it when I see her again? 100%, I'd say. Shit. Oh well, whatever. Let's go get food. That healing magic drained the hell out of me. One little thing first, her horn lit up and my body lifted slightly above the ground, then she gently spread out my arms and legs. How do you feel, Nav? Do you think those incompetent buffoons fixed everything? I closed my eyes and started actually focusing. Before I could get started, Aqua said, "You're fine." The mages succeeded. Instead of taking her at her word, I tried to continue to feel it out for myself. She sighed and said, "I'm afraid you'll have to trust me, silly." My mouth opened and Aqua said, "I think I'm good, Twiggles." That did it. Twilight let me down and I opened my eyes just in time to see her rear up, place her forehooves on my shoulder, and adorably nuzzle me right in the face. "I didn't get to do it when you said it earlier, so I'm gonna make up for lost time," she said. "Can you do it later?" I asked. "I'm not kidding about being hungry." She pulled back with a sigh. "Fine. But I'm collecting later." With interest. "K. Let's go." She finally slid down and we picked a random direction in which to start walking.